welcome back to the Knits for the Soul podcast. My name is Claudia, and I think my dog Ivo is just about to hop onto the sofa and greet you too. Yeah, so welcome back. Thank you for all the feedback you kindly left for my past episodes. And okay, he lay down. And yeah, if you're a new viewer, welcome. I hope you enjoy this podcast and some knitting time. So for today, I have actually one finished project for you, and one work in progress, and some new yarns. So, as usual, and though I have a project management app I use to prepare my episodes, I'm not prepared. Well, I basically know what I want to do, but yeah. So I dive right into the project I would like to share with you, and these are my Auni socks. So if you follow me on Instagram, where my name is also Knits for the Soul, as well as on Ravelry, by the way, so befriend me, I befriend you too. So if I follow you, that is probably because I really love your projects and I want to stalk your awesomeness. So yeah, here are my Auni socks. So I apologize for the possible bad lightning, but it just started to snow again and the light went away. So the part I recorded before had better light, I guess, but I hope you can see that anyway. So these are my Auni socks by Maria Costa Movara. Her name is Nupu Nupu on Instagram and on Ravelry as well. So these are the decay version. She also has a fingering version available, not in a bundle, but single patterns. So I knit that on a 4mm needle with a Yartigan Lima, and well, my iPad I'm recording with is putting a shadow over here, so I'm sorry. So this is not the best setup. And yeah, so here they are. And this is not a sock yarn, it's just 100% wool. It's not even superwash, but I so love that color and I wanted to knit those socks, and I thought that is going to be fast. So yeah, I was really busy at work the past few weeks, so they weren't as fast as I hoped. And I actually did not follow the pattern for real, because I knit them toe up, and I knit the gusset and heel I always knit, and this is the construction I use from Frisabi Knits Lilies of the Valley socks. So I think I showed them my first real episode, I think, or in the second. I think I made a sock a day photo thing there, so just go back and check it out. So the Lilies of the Valley socks are the light pink Wollmeise socks I show at one point. Yeah, so these are the Auni socks in Yartigan Lima on a 4mm needle, and I used exactly 100 grams, so 50 grams a sock. And I knit them in size European 40-41 because my feet grew after I gave birth to my son. I had a 39 before that. And now I have elephant feet. Oh, well, not really elephant feet, because, well, if you have that size, don't be mad at me. Okay, so yeah, that was my finished project for this episode. And because I did not knit so much, also my classic ribbed hat by Pearl Soho Petit Knit one of those. In the Blacker Yarns Melt Yarn is not very far gone. Well, but this is what I'm working on now to get it done, though there is no rush, or maybe there is because it's snowing again, who knows. Because I actually want to knit a shawl for a friend. She asked me to knit her something for the springtime, so something that keeps her warm when it gets chilly later in the day, but is not too bulky to wear when the sun is out. So I will knit the Geschickt Gestrickt shawl by Landlust. It's a free pattern, and I think in my last episode I linked the web archive entry, but I will do so here as well. And she asked for something in yellow, and at first I thought I didn't have something or some shawl amount, you know what I mean, for that in that color, but I actually did, but it was too pastel-y for her. So one of my Stitch and Bitch friends, sorry for the crinkling, Stefan, saw the episode, the previous to the last one, or was it the last one? I don't know. And said, hey, you're destashing and you're sending me yarn from your stash. I have something that might be good for yours and the project you were talking about. So he sent me that sunny yellow lace yarn. So I have almost 150 grams of that. It's a 100% merino lace yarn. And yeah, so this week I think it was Monday or Tuesday, I don't know, I think Monday, I sent away his box with the yarn he chose for my destash, and today I got this box back. So there was this pretty sunny yellow in there, and I already sent a photo to my friend and she said yeah, so this is going to be that shawl. And then he sent us other things. That's so cool. So I think, sorry, I already posted that on Instagram, but yeah, so he also sent me a sock tube. Because he has a sock knitting machine, so of course he can do everything on it as well, like toes and heels and everything, but he was just as he told me, playing around and trying stuff. So I got a sock tube. Ooh! And it's really great. The colors are lovely and I love stripes. So let's see if these are going to be socks or maybe just leg warmers. Let's see. Depends if my son sees them and likes them, he will probably tell me to make socks for him. Let's see. Okay, and then he also sent me a skein of a really, really beautiful yarn, and this is the Garthener Preselli. This is a Polwarth and Romney wool, and yeah, so it looks a bit too reddish here on the screen, though I don't have any artificial lighting on. It's darker in real life, so it's more, it's going more into an aubergine red, a reddish purplish red than this warm one. So it's actually a rather cold red. Yeah. Thank you so much for the destash. I'm restashing. So, but I mean, one is almost a finished project. The other yarn is already spoken for project. So let's see what this might become. So it's a really nice color. So it's 75 Polwarth, 25 Romney. and I really like Gardener. I bought the first Gardener yarns the first time. Was it the first time I went to Edinburgh Yarn Festival or the second? I'm not really sure, but I bought it there. So, and this is the new version of the Preseli. So the amount of Polworth, and I think in the first version they don't have Romney in it, it's just the Polworth, but I'm not sure. But Revelry can tell you that. So this is a 50 grams with 200 meters or 219 yards for, well, it's fingering weight, but I think that can be ahead. Let's see. So great, thank you. Yeah, so this is the new yarn, and I show you my finished object and my work in progress, and well, the yellow shawl plan, and yeah. So the thing is with not being prepared, though you have actually a plan, is that you forget stuff. So that's why I stopped editing and well, started my iPad again to record this part for you because I have more yarn. So this is not really part of my destash. It is some kind of a little collaboration. So when I still had my shop, I would sell hand-dyed yarns for a friend. So that friend is Melanie, and her hand-dyed yarn shop business is called Tabby Cat Fiber Arts. I mentioned that before because I have knitted items out of her yarn and also showed you a couple of them. And I have yarns from her. So Melanie is pregnant with her first child at the moment. Hooray! Congratulations. So she took a break from her online shop, so that is why it is offline at the moment. But I got 2 boxes from her to show you, and you can actually get them via my Instagram or just email me. I have to tell you, they are not free. So the yarns I gave away were remaining stashes from my shop or my own stash, and I just don't want money for them because, well, I explained that before. So, but these boxes are not my own, they are Melanie's, and maybe you like them and you would like to support her, and maybe you would like to support her and her business when she's getting it full-time again, as soon as the baby is there and she has the time for it. Until then, I will show you the yarns, and hopefully there's something you like. So, voila. The first I would like to show you are 2 skeins of a Donegal tweed. It's 85 merino and 50% Donegal. And you have 100 grams and 400 meters, about 437 yards. And there are 2 skeins of them. The colorway is called Furious, and that's it. And the color representation here on screen is actually how it looks. So it's a really great popping pink and very pretty. So as you, that is my dog, so he's probably not so into pink. And yeah, so this is really nice yarn. I will take photos as well and put them on my Instagram. And 1 skein of 100 grams is €16.90. So that's the first. Then I will just go in and out of color families here. Then there are 2 skeins of, well, it's kind of a yarn-gasm, a yarn orgasm, because this is, wow, So this is the Baby Paca Tabby, so that's the name of her base, in the colorway Fairy Tale Ghost. It's 70% baby alpaca, 20% silk, 10% cashmere. 100 grams, 400 meters, again 437 yards, hand wash only. And here is one of the two skeins. And the other. So you see you have very nice bluish colors interspersed with little purplish bluish streaks. Very pretty and so soft. It's a dream. And then there is one single skein of an MCN Sport. The colorway is called Spring Awakening. It's 80% merino superwash, 10% cashmere, 10% nylon, 100 grams, 260 meters. Very pretty. And so it stopped snowing and the light is a bit better here. So this is a really good representation of the color. So this is also 1690 and there is one skein. Oh, I forgot. So the Fairy Tale Ghost skeins are, let me check, 23.90 a skein. And then we have, let me sort this out so I don't get them mixed up. Three skeins of a BFL, a 100% Blue Face Leicester. The colorway is called Round Toes. Cute. And again, 100 grams and 400 meters in this pretty rose color. So there are 3 of those. So it's 1,200 meters. So this is a big shawl. Depending on your clothing size, definitely a tank top or a shirt. Depends on your size. Really nice. It's 16.90 a skein. So then there is 2 skeins of 70% Blue Face Leicester superwash, 20% silk and 10% cashmere. It's called, oh, do I pronounce it correctly? Yarava Ichu. So again, fingering weight yarn, 100 grams and 400 meters. And this yellow toned color. Oh yeah, that's a really good color representation. It's awesome. And one skein is 18.90. And then let me check. 4 skeins of a twisted MCN. And the colorway is called Cherish a Snake. It's 80% merino superwash, 10% cashmere, 10% nylon. And on 100 grams, there are 365 meters or almost 400 yards. Hand wash is recommended. And oh, here you see the logo. And one skein is €18.90. And there are 4 skeins. Very pretty. So this is, depending on your size, of course, either a huge shawl or a garment. And so soft, really so soft. So and then my favorite, if I knew what to make of it, I would buy it myself. So there is the Luxe BFL again. The colorway is called, I think it's called Damaskina, I'm not sure. So it's again 70% blue face leicester, 20 silk, 10 cashmere, 100 grams, 400 meters. Do you see that? The shine on it? This is so pretty. And there are, hold your breath, 5 skeins. I mean, it's a sweater quantity. Yeah, well, depending on your size. So this is really so beautiful. Again, I will take photos and put them on Instagram. On it's at knitsforthesoul, and there you can check out again the data of them, the details, and the prices, and contact me if you would like to purchase it and support Mel and her baby and knit something really nice out of those gorgeous beauties and treat yourself to some orgasmic yarn. There was a dog. And now I would happily forward you to my sit and knit section, so where I'm going to talk your ears off and probably bore you to death. I was thinking here and there what to talk about, and I will be talking about my knitting story. So if you're not interested in that and all the topics I digress into and blah 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 blah, just stop here and come back the next episode, and yeah. Bye. Okay, I thought about doing a little stitch and bitch digitally with you, and I'm sitting on my sofa now in my living room, and the dog is playing on the floor in front of me, so if you hear weird noises, that is him fighting with his toys. Yeah, so I have no idea how to set up the recording stuff with my iPad. I'm recording with my iPad so that you actually see me knitting. No matter what I did, it was never the right height, and I was afraid it would fall off the tripod. So you see me, and maybe sometimes my hands working. So, but I am knitting on my classic ribbed head, because as you saw, I finished the Auni socks. So, and for a bit of stitch and bitching, I thought we could hang out together and have tea or coffee and talk a bit. So for the most part, it would be me talking, but yeah, maybe you just can reply and imagine I would hear it right away. So that is how I feel when I watch knitting podcasts. For example, the Knitting Traditions podcast, or the Bearded Pearl podcast. It's like I'm saying stuff to them, they don't even hear it, but it's like talking to people. My son does that, by the way, too. He's not watching knitting podcasts apart from my own, and but he's watching gaming podcasts and those videos where they play a game and talk about it while they're doing that. So I'm too old for that, I guess. Yeah, and he's kind of talking to those people at the same time. So I think it's quite a thing when watching podcasts. Yeah. I was thinking about what to talk about right now, and I think the most classic topic would be how I started knitting and how that progressed. So I'm just going into that for now. And let's see what your questions from the previous episode will bring, and then I prepare that for the next time too. Yeah, well, I started knitting, I think about 2008 or 9. I did crochet first because I thought I would never get the two or more needle thing done. Oh, sorry, that was the dog. He bumped against the table. The tripod is standing on. So, yeah. So, what was I saying? Oh yeah. I think in 2008 or 9. But I did a lot of crochet previously, and also for the next couple of years, and I really knitted for real. Horrible sentence. Okay. I started the serious knitting thing when I got pregnant with my son, and he was born in 2011. So that was when I really started knitting stuff like baby garments, of course, and blankets and stuff like that. And when he was born and I had parental leave, so in Germany you can have up until a year as parental leave, where you are getting paid, I think, 60% of your previous salary. So yeah, I think so. And if you have twins, for example, that's just doubling the length, the period of parental leave. And yeah, so I was staying home for a year, and it was a really tough time. But I digress already, because I stumbled into the knitting world way earlier. So I think it was about 2005 or 6. I had this boyfriend at college whose sisters were into knitting. So I visited him and his family then, and one of his sisters took me around town and we went to a yarn shop. That was in Oldenburg. This is the northwest of Germany. And if I remember correctly, they had the big brands, the big German brands especially, on display. But it was a really nice shop. It was not very big. They're usually not in Germany. It's okay. I just shoved him a bit further away from the table. Okay, so how was that before? So they're usually not that big in Germany, or at least those I went to weren't. And it was like, oh my gosh, this is way better than any candy store. And the sister promised me to teach me knitting. And it sadly never came to that, because I went abroad. In that year, I had 1 year abroad, and I actually studied at the University of Leipzig, which is in the eastern part of Germany. You probably have heard of it. I hope so. It's quite a big town. Anyway, and I went abroad for 2 semesters to Prague in the Czech Republic, and studied at the Charles University. So I have a master's degree in medieval and early modern history, and in that degree I specialized on the Reformation period in Central Europe. especially in Saxonia, which is a part of Germany, well, where Leipzig is located. So that was fitting. And I also studied auxiliary historical sciences. This is, well, all the tools you need as a historian, like reading diplomas, like also in Latin and stuff, and, well, deciphering scripts and checking out coins and all kinds of things, you know. So it's a really big field of stuff you study there. And I was one of the last students who was actually able to take that as a whole subject. It was closed, I think, 1 or 2 years after I started university, because German universities started to transition into all the bachelor and master's degrees. Americans are totally familiar with, so they don't have anything else. But we have had the early 2000s. We still had that old system of diploma and it's called magister, which is basically a master, but the way you study is, as far as I see it, more free than a bachelor's or master's degree, because you just puzzle together everything you need and want, especially what you want to do. So it's not so school-like. It's a rather liberal way of putting Lego pieces on top of each other to, achieve or get all the knowledge and stuff you would like to have for your degree. Maybe it's different in America. So I had an American boyfriend, and so the way he studied sounded quite interesting. So how he pieced together his degrees to get to get the career he wanted. So this is interesting, but it's a concept you don't have in Germany. So also after about 15 years after I think that was established or started being established in Germany, I think companies still struggle to really know and acknowledge which degree is worth what compared to the degrees we had before. Anyway, so and I've knitted not a single stitch. And so I went abroad for 1 year to study at the Charles University in Prague. And let me tell you, that city is my most favorite city in the world. I've traveled a lot during my university time and a bit afterwards, but Prague is still my favorite of all cities I've been to. So, and I've been to quite a number, So I really, really enjoyed living in the Czech Republic and taking part in all those tours and events and programs they offered for Erasmus students. So that was a program I went to that university with. And apart from the historical stuff I studied, I also have a linguistic one, which I majored in then later. It's called Slavonic Onomastic Sciences. Sounds really cool. So it's basically the science about names of every kind. Like, it's not just your given name or your family name, but it's also about place names, river names, mountain names, brand names. So this is a whole extra field of study actually, and everything you can imagine. So, but it really comes in handy if you study history, because of the way you can research the origin of a place, for example, and who really established that place. So, and how old a place or a region or whatever really is as we know it now. And I found a dropped stitch. Woo! Yeah. So the first time I had a glimpse of the knitting world was in that yarn shop in Oldenburg with my boyfriend's sister. Then when I went abroad, we weren't together anymore, and I also took classes at the American Institute of Charles University. So I spent a lot of time with American students, and the girls were knitting. So there was this so cozy and beautiful little library on top of that institute. It was, you know, you had slanted roofs and everything, and you saw the beams, and everything was so modern, but also connected to the old building. So beautiful. And I really loved the classes I had there. So I took a lot of political classes, political history and political relations, and it was really so exciting and interesting. And in those 2 semesters abroad, I studied more than in the whole of my, university time. So I did all the classes and got all the certificates I needed to actually finish my bachelor's and go right to my master's thesis stuff, whatever. Yeah. And the American girls were knitting, and we sat in that quaint, cute, cozy library and typing away on our on reports and whatever, and papers. And that really got me saying, oh, I want to do that as well. And it never came to be as well, because I was so busy with all the papers and everything. And I had a really good friend back then, another Erasmus student from Finland. Her name is Kaisa, and she's an author, by the way. So she is writing the most amazing stories. And we always went to bookstores. So I have no idea. I think I haven't been... There is no bookstore left in Prague I haven't been to. Well, that time, back at that time. And she introduced me to all kinds of new genres and books and authors, and it was a really good time. So I've read tons and took that back with me to Germany. Yeah, so still no knitting happened. And when I look back and remember some of the lectures we had, I think I should have been able to knit back then. It would have been so productive to live through a 7 a.m. lecture about the ancient Roman emperors and their coins, you know, numismatic stuff, with all those horrible pictures on the wall about starring those coins, and having that ancient professor talking about them. He's like, it's 7 a.m. in the morning and I need a third coffee. And it was coin after coin after coin, and it was so boring. But you had to do it to get the points for that lecture in that field. And if I had been able to knit back then, it would have been so much more pleasant, and I would have gotten things out of it like garments or whatever, like socks, or sweaters. I don't know. Well, I still do know how to read a coin. So I think that is a pro, I guess. Yeah. Or I remember those really crowded lectures on Reformation history. The professor was really cool. She was amazing. So I was typing or writing away during those lectures. But sometimes it was just not possible because it was so crowded. And if you came like 2 minutes before the lecture started, you had to sit on the stairs with 500 other people in that room. And yeah, so there was no way I would take out a notepad or my laptop when I sat on those stone stairs. So, and that would have been a great time to knit, because she wouldn't have seen it anyway. Yeah. So I think, I'm not really sure how it really started, but it was about 2007 or 8. I picked up the first crochet hook and started crocheting small things. And I finished university in 2009. And it was still mostly about books. So everywhere I traveled, I bought books. And thinking back, I could have gone to all those amazing yarn stores that were already existing back then, like when we toured England, for example. Yeah, well, you can't turn back time, of course. So, fast forward 2011, and I had my son in my arms. Yay! And the pregnancy was actually really great. So I love being pregnant. It was, all of a sudden, so the mothers out there know, all of a sudden your hormones are working the way they should, and you had amazing hair and amazing nails. Well, at least I did, and the skin was perfect. And I had no complications whatsoever. So there was no pains, no sickness, nothing. So it was really nice being pregnant. Then sadly, the father of my son had a very bad accident when I was, I think, 7 or 8 months pregnant, and he nearly died. That was a very traumatic situation, a very traumatic part, and he recovered and was also with me when the baby was born, but that's when the complications started. So I had to have a C-section to save the baby, and this resulted, I think all of this resulted in my son having a very hard time getting used to being there. And it took several weeks, and then finally a visit to a specialist who told me that I am too stressed, or both of us are too stressed, and the baby is noticing that and gets stressed too. That's why he is crying all the time and giving all of us a hard time. And we were remodeling and renovating our house here, and were driving almost every day, or at least every weekend, from Leipzig, where we lived, well, to this place here. And this was very stressful for the baby, of course. I mean, now I know that. And then I decided I will move with him, move with the baby, move here with the baby, before the house is finished, because there was not a problem, because there are 2 houses on this property. The one we were remodeling is one of my grandparents who are not alive anymore, and the other one was my parents, so my parents were still alive back then. So I moved in with my parents and the baby, and it took like 2 or 3 days, and my son was like the chilliest dude ever. Okay, so that was when I caught my breath and had time, and when I was not reading, I wanted to do something more productive, and I took up the needles again. So this is when really knitting addicted time started. And during that year of paternal leave, where it was still tough, because though my baby was really well and everything was fine in that area, I had, how to say that in English, postnatal depression. Is that the thing in English? I think so. So it was really bad. So I went to a group of people, a discussion group, a therapy group. And at the same time, I really was so bored out of my mind in that little village, because I have been away for more than 10 years, and I didn't know anyone anymore, because, well, all the young people moved away, of course, and I didn't know the old people. And what would I have done with all those old people? I didn't know. So I thought I really need a new set of friends, acquaintances, whatever, to spend time with, and to get out of that small little village and only feeding and changing diapers of a baby. And that's when Revelry came into the story, and I looked for people in that city, so Halle is very close, who would like to knit together at a cafe or whatever. So back then that was still possible. So that is how our Stitch and Bitch came to life. And some of the first girls in that Stitch and Bitch are still in that group, which is awesome. And it was a lifesaver, not only for me, like physically, but also emotionally. And I'm so grateful for these wonderful women and what we all went through together, not just on my part. I mean, they are why I am alive, but also, all of them. So what we all went through, it's just mind-blowing. And well, that group started, and we found a really nice cafe where we met almost every week, and well, crowded around the table and almost took over the whole cafe. And that's when an idea was born. So at one time we were talking about the perfect yarn shop, what it would have to be like. So like a second yarn home, for example. And we were brainstorming and it was so much fun. And I said, that's such a cool idea. I think I will do that. And it was in 2012. And then there was another girl in that Stitch and Bitch group, and she said, yeah, great, I'm in. So we actually started setting up a business plan and going to all those coachings and doing all that stuff. And within a year, we not only got a prize for our business plan and some prize money, we also, well, set up a business and started a yarn shop. That was in 2013. And it was the first knit cafe in our town. And we located it in the north of town, where a lot of other craft stores were located, like fabric stores, for example, which made networking really easy. And yeah, so during the time we planned everything and looked for distributors and yarn companies and all that stuff, and well, checking the town out for the best location and everything. We gave free classes and also met new people. There is another Stitch and Bitch we met, and I'm still so grateful and happy to still be some kind of a part of. That is, well, it's a German name. It's Hallischer Strickstammtisch, which basically means, yeah, Halle Stitch and Bitch. And those ladies are the best. So they are, I don't know, maybe about 40-ish upwards, but they knit the coolest stuff on earth. They just dove in to all that internet knitting world related stuff. They have a WhatsApp group. They exchange ideas and photos, and they translate English patterns to German, and then just do knit-alongs and everything. And they also meet every week. So they met in a cafe close where we opened our yarn shop, and kind of moved to the yarn shop and met there every week. And then there was our own Stitch and Bitch of the younger people also meeting there on a different day, but yeah. So that was an amazing time. And so my friend who started that business with me, she left, well, close to a year later, because it didn't work out. And I think she is now in childcare. I think she's training to, or she did, well, it's years ago, of course. So I think she's done with that and working as in childcare, I think. Yeah. So she's really good with that. Anyways, good decision probably. Yeah. And so I kept that shop for a couple of years longer. Also moved the shop and had a location next to a fabric store with a sewing cafe. And we had really nice plans, and were working on those plans when also after my mom passed away, my dad did too. And not only was that horrible, but also left me with a huge debt that I inherited and couldn't decline, because I already owned a part of that property here, and my partner did as well. So I kind of had to inherit the debt to keep the houses. And yeah, so that was a very difficult time as well, because I also had to deal with my brother, who was not present for more than a decade and in repeat. Anyway, so yeah, I am, well, I am not the dreamer kind of person. I'm a very rational and realistic, well, businesswoman. So I I took a look over a couple of months how that financial situation worked out, and there was no way that in that location and town I would be able to, well, get enough profit and keep, well, pay off that debt I inherited. So I was thinking about moving again and just, well, enlarge the business, because the idea of a real knitting cafe, like where you really offer the whole cafe experience, I only had a part of because of the size of my shop and the regulations you have to observe. Germany is horrible in that. Trust me, if you have a coffee machine in your shop, that is horrible. So just imagine you would sell alcohol. I mean, I didn't, but oh God. Yeah. So I was looking into the option of moving again to a bigger location and enlarging the business in a way that I would have even more than those legs to stand on. You know, I did a lot of stuff and also added the online shops, and also had my own hand-dyed brand. There was a craft festival I planned every year, and I had classes and everything. So there were two things I could have done that would make it bigger, a lot bigger, or close. So at that time, that was 2017, there was no realistic option to get a real estate that worked. So every location I checked out, which would have been perfect in size, and actually the location itself, like where it was situated in the city and with the traffic and everything, was not working, because in that year and for the next year as well, so you saw the plans of those, at every place I went, there were construction works on public transport. So you have the trams and the buses, and every location I thought that would be really profitable, they ripped out the whole streets, everything. So it was like a war zone. And during those 2 years, while that happened, so many shops just closed because they had no customers. So to think, or to even think to move to such a location would have been way more than a death sentence. So I thought, no way am I doing that, because I had a loan for my business already, and I was paying it off very flexibly, so that wasn't bothering me at all. But you have to consider the taxes, you have to stay fluent, you have to order stuff, you have to, well, develop and get bigger. And the risk was way too high to move to such a location. and I didn't see any improvements at the location I was at, and I still had to pay off the debts of my parents, which were piling up, where there were stuff I had no idea that was there. Frustrating. So I said goodbye to my yarn shop cafe baby and started applying for other jobs. So with all the working experience and all kinds of stuff I did before I opened that yarn shop, I found really cool job advertisements, and for I think 3 months I went from one interview to another, and I was always like, well, it was always declined, and I thought it's so horrible, and why don't I get a job with all the skills and whatever. And then all of a sudden, every single application I posted was accepted. and I had so many job offers and opportunities I could choose from. It was overwhelming. So what did I do? Person that I am, I made a list, a pro and contra list, and I listed everything. And in the end, I chose a job I don't think anyone else would have chosen compared to the others, because I went into customer services. I could have had a way better paying jobs, way better. But there were so many downsides to each one of them. For example, the distance. I would have had to drive every day, which, for example, for my American viewers would be laughable. But if you have a 9-to-5 job, and well, the lunch break you have to take for that amount of working hours, plus the driving to and from, I would have been away from my family for about 12 hours. I didn't want that. So I went to that call center I'm working at now and thought, oh my God, I did call center stuff when I was a student for I think a couple of days, and it was horrible. But in the meantime, I think 15 years went by, so it was different. Totally different experience. Anyway, I went there with no expectations whatsoever, with basically some pre-selected filter of, oh God, no. And they presented a couple of projects that were looking for employees, and there was one where I was actually the only possible person in the AC to do it. So I actually had no competition. And anyway, so I thought, well, I give this a trial, show that stuff to me, and I had so many offers I could choose from, and at that time I hadn't decided yet. So I met the team. It was a really small project. It was a bilingual project, German and English, for a navigation apps and devices producer. And I met the people in that project, and it's kind of, I fell in love because they were so amazing. I mean, they still are. Yeah, so they're still in that company, so they still are amazing. And it was so much fun right away, and I felt at home. And I told the HR boss that I would think about it because, well, anyway, so I went home and I reviewed all the other job offers and possibilities I had and decided against all of them and for that customer service position, because it was basically a 5-minute car drive from home with flexible hours. And well, I thought if I don't like it, I just quit and look for something else. But in the meantime, I would have something, especially to occupy me, not just for paying like the debts or any other invoices or whatever, but just also to have to do something. So I've never been someone to sleep the day away. I mean, I could do that for a couple of days if I'm really drained and I need time to regroup or something. But yeah, so any prolonged period of free time where I don't have, or where I can't be really productive in a way I like to be productive in, it's horrible. So, well, you could say, oh my god, you could clean and you could do the garden. And I mean, I have a property with 2 houses here and 1,000 square meter garden. I hate that. I hate garden work. I'm in no mood to, well, use a broom for the courtyard every day, all day, or things like that. So I'm not a houseworking person. I hate that. Cleaning is, oh. So I can't do that to pass away time or something like this. So it's a core. It's really a core. So I have all kinds of things that, well, make it easier. Or I just have to push a button and that a machine is doing that stuff. So I chose that job. And up until now, I think it was the best idea because I was immediately happy to work there. So I loved my colleagues and the project was fun. And there were periods where I even could knit while I was working. So that was perfect. So I think I was in that project for, well, it was not a year. Or was it a year? I think it was a year. And then I applied for a new position and changed projects. And got promoted as well, because all the stuff I did before, that was not a challenge enough. It worked for a time, but I couldn't have done that forever. So I changed to a project. A colleague from that first project of mine was already in. So I knew from him that it was a really great project, and I applied and got promoted and started there. And it's really, really great. So I love every day working in that project. So in this, in this field, you don't have projects forever. So about 3 years is very long. And our client is moving our project to a different site now. And during the summer, I hope I will get another one that is at least as interesting and exciting and fun. Yeah. So let's see how this is working out. After I closed my yarn shop, there was so much stuff to do that in that time I did not have so much time or headspace to knit. But after let's say the financial part of my life was in control and safe and stable, I was finally able to really dive into that again and re-love it. So for the past half year I had my shop, it became a core as well, because you didn't, or I didn't have enough time and enough, or again, had space for creativity. And that was also some kind of like a headshot to really close it, because if you're not creative in a creative business, it's not working. So then I had this breather and started knitting again and really loved it again, and made it my hobby again. It's not my job anymore, but really a thing I love. And I mean, you all know the memes, do more what you love. And since or for a couple of years now, I'm really into that again, and I'm not thinking about anything that would keep me from doing what I love. So, and the destash I had for the past couple of weeks, where a lot of boxes already went to their new owners, yay! That was still part of that old life, and it really feels so amazing to close that drawer and well, have it finalized kind of, and really look into something fresh. Yeah. So knitting is back to be the fun thing. And yeah, so the not the last episode, but the one before, I think I talked about not sticking to plans, and I think I'm fine with it. I'm really fine with it now, not to stick to any plans, because they just give you pressure on something that shouldn't give you pressure, but that should just make you happy and feel content. And that's really what I want. So, yeah. That was a really, really long monologue. And I put away my knitting. My tea is cold. And I think I probably bored you to tears. So if you are still there, wow! So you should get an award. And yeah, that was my story. My knitting story, actually. Can I call it like that? I think so. Well, I just do. It's my podcast. I'm the goddess of my podcast. I can do anything I want. So yeah, that's a fun thing. Yeah. Okay. Now I really need some new hot tea or a coffee, and as it started snowing again. Oh my gosh. So much for going for a walk with a dog in the sunshine and recording footage for you. I think I will really sit back now and knit a bit. So I hope you're well and that you have a lovely time and enjoy your knitting. See you next time. But yeah,